I had been a police officer for 14 years. In 2011, I retired due to an injury of post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. Now, my retirement was focused on one significant event that I experienced while I was working. However, it's my belief that law enforcement and first responders suffer from years of cumulative PTSD that creates stress and disorder in their life from their day-to-day experiences on the job. Here's an example of an experience like that.
Shots fired, 2304.
Now, the PTSD workbook by Mary Beth Williams and Soli Pohula define post-traumatic stress disorder as a condition of persistent mental and emotional stress occurring as a disturbance of sleep and constant vivid recall of the experience. You experience dulled responses to others and to the outside world. PTSD has affected law enforcement in many significant ways. It's believed that 216,000 law enforcement officers experience some form of PTSD or emotional stress from their experiences while working. PTSD also is a leading cause of suicides in law enforcement. 1,400 suicides have occurred in law enforcement over the past decade, and PTSD is believed to be the cause of those suicides. As I mentioned, PTSD manifests over time. It can occur from one significant incident. However, law enforcement and first responders are experienced daily to a barrage of horrific and life-threatening events that over time take a toll on you, both mentally and physically. Now, the physical sides, I downloaded a little something off the computer here. This shows the mental aspect of PTSD. Some of the experiences that you have and how it affects your body mentally. The physical aspects of PTSD are, one, the physical symptoms where you experience flashbacks, nightmares, you have anger issues, you don't sleep well, you avoid the situations that created what you believe the incident that created your PTSD. You have intense physical problems with your PTSD. It can be in the form of tremors, your voice shaking, you could be sweating profusely, and so forth. Now, with the stress that law enforcement officers experience, it is led to believe that it creates a high divorce rate in law enforcement. The divorce rate in some law enforcement agencies that are in bigger cities and so forth are in the 70 to 80% range. Heart attacks. Stress causes problems with your heart. Stress is the top 2 or 3 categories of police line of duty deaths. It's also shown that the life expectancy of a police officer is 20 years less than its civilian counterpart. Now, with all this bad news, there has been some good news. There's ways to get help for PTSD. There's EAP, or employee assistance programs. That's where your employer is required to provide you with some mental health counseling if you're experiencing stress or some kind of mental health issue that you'd like to talk to someone about. It's free of charge. Your employer is required to provide that, and it's a good first step in identifying what your problems may be. After that, there's traditional counseling that we all see on TV, and you see the psychiatrist. You go to a psychiatrist, you tell them what you're experiencing. From what I've experienced personally, normally they'll try to prescribe a medication to dull your senses, in my eyes, or treat your symptoms. However, to me, it's a band-aid on the problem. PTSD does not have a cure, so they're just trying to make your life more manageable with a condition that will not go away, is my feelings. Now there's also projects designed specifically for law enforcement. One such project is called Code 9. As you can see here, making mental health a priority for all first responders and their families. Now this, I have not purchased their documentary. They have a documentary on DVD, but I have seen the trailer, and they have interviews with the spouses of law enforcement officers and the law enforcement officers themselves. And sadly, their interviews mirrored my personal life, which led to problems that I had: alcoholism, divorce, anger issues, problems with my family. They said they all felt like they were walking on eggshells, and it was triggered by my experience with post-traumatic stress disorder. In closing, PTSD is always going to be a problem for first responders and military personnel. There are actual pharmaceutical companies now attempting to immunize people from experiencing PTSD or depression. They're testing certain medications that would prevent you from ever getting such a disorder. So there is hope on the horizon. I ended up becoming an exact statistic of what I knew going into becoming a law enforcement officer. There was an incidence of high divorce rate, alcoholism, and antisocial behavior, and I became the exact model of that. And hopefully with these new techniques that are out there now, there will be hope for future law enforcement officers and military personnel. Thank you.